and welcome to tonight's edition of Sunday Night Live, the show where we talk about all things automotive, variable ops, fixed ops. Try to keep it interesting and always bring in the experts in the field that can shed light on things that we all need, because let's face it, the more information we have, the better we understand how all the pieces fit together, the better we all do. And this is an awesome business. I have the pleasure of meeting some great people along the way. One such person is in the other box. His name is Glenn Garvin. Some of you know him, some of you don't. Glenn and I met each other at Dominion, about 5 years back, something like that. It seems like yesterday, actually. And Glenn is a guy that's no stranger to inventory merchandising, so I figured he'd be the perfect guy to bring on. So without any further ado, Glenn, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate you bringing me on and giving me opportunity to talk about stuff I love talking about. So the car business, and it's a little bit niche product, or as guys in Canada would say niche. I get corrected every time I say niche, but it gets them a little crazy. So, but my background, I worked for Dominion for a long time as a VP running their inventory products. Dealer Specialties was one of those businesses, Data One Software, and learned a lot in that business. I had, as strange as it turns out, my grandfather was a car dealer in Rochester, New York. He had a Chrysler DeSoto dealership. When I knew him, he was a farmer, so he had sold that business off and gotten out of the car business. But when I first got into it, he said it must have been in the blood that would come back to me. And I've always loved the car business. So I've been around it. I had a business that started putting window stickers on cars in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware areas, and sold that to Trader Publishing, which became part of Dominion eventually. And then eventually rolled into that role with Dominion. About 5 years ago, departed with that and started out with a company, True Images, that I'm with today, and became a very much more of a niche business talking about new car photography. But really, Paul, when you put up on your screen in the beginning about efficiency and how dealerships operate, and that's really where True Images is. It's been great to be able to help dealers save money and be more efficient in their processes of what they do. So that's fun, and just learning more about the business every day and being a part of a great industry.
Now, what's interesting is that in the car business, they say nobody ever leaves. It's in the blood. Apparently, that's true, even generational.
It appears that way. I couldn't imagine being out of the car business now. It's I've even missed not having our industry events this year. It's tough not seeing all the people that I normally get to see all the time. And it's definitely in the blood. Now,
some interesting stats here. Let's see here. I think you said on average, 63% of the new car inventory is photographed and online for a dealer, which seems like a crazy number. But that's average, right? I checked out a dealer, and I found that 18% of their inventory was actually a photo of a real car. It wasn't even like a good photo. So I have some screenshots here that I'm going to share in just a moment. But that's crazy.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah, it really is. The stats you're talking about there are, used cars get the attention, and they well should. I mean, if you have to choose to shoot a new car, used car, I would always tell a dealer to shoot the used car first, because you're in a much more competitive environment on those, and on the third parties, you got to have those done. But in the ideal world, you want to get both of those done. So there's still about 20% of dealers who don't do any photography of their new cars, as crazy as that sounds. Sometimes that's logistics and other reasons, but the ones who do attempt to do it, the average dealer is only 63% successful getting photos on their online. So at any given time, a third of a dealer's inventory is not photographed on their new cars on average.
That's absolutely insane, because let's face it, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. We're very visual as humans, and it's the picture that really drives you, right? So I do restaurant marketing, where I take photos of restaurants, their dining rooms, their food. I'm a food pornographer.
I was going to say you're a food porn guy, right? You're taking pictures of all the appetizers all the way through, right?
All the way through. And some of these photos will get millions of views. And if it catches your eye, you click into the site and you want to find out more. You click the call, you click for directions, you go there. It's very simple. And cars are really no different. You know, it's the second most expensive purchase that we're going to make. A lot of the stuff has gone online, not just because of COVID, but even before, because these companies realize that, hey, if we put the stuff online and make it appetizing, people will click through. So I'm going to show you a few photos. Oh, hold on a second. We got some comments here. Michael Landis says hello. And our friend Kenneth Dunner Jr. from Sugarland. What's he say? He says, in the house tonight, my beautiful gems of gentlemen, human beings, and friends of mine to millions who share the goodness with others. He's one of the biggest fans. I love this guy.
Good.
So I'm going to show you a couple of photos here, and this is what determines whether or not somebody comes to your store. All right. Now I'm going to put up some photos, and you guys tell me which cars you would be most inclined to run to at least want to find out more. So our first candidate is this one. Now, how does this make you feel about that car? Or maybe this one. Doesn't really tell me much about it. Or this is one of my favorites because it always builds up so much excitement for me. The coming soon photo. Now, I don't know about you, but I would just be sitting there at the edge of my seat waiting for that car to hit the lot. I probably wouldn't look anywhere else until I at least saw this car when it came out. No, just kidding. Or is there anything particular you guys notice about this photo? I'll give you a hint. There's a reflection in the hood and on the roof. It's almost like the shadow of the guy taking the picture. Or we have this one. I don't know about you, but a distorted photo doesn't really do much for me, or reflections of the shop lights, or any of that stuff. Or if you saw this one, might you have some interest? Or how about this one? I'm seeing clear photo, looks exciting, there's dealer branding, versus this, or this, or this. So you see this all the time.
Yep.
Let's see, what do we see here? We got Ron Usher says, hi, Paul, hi, Glenn. Eric O'Reilly says, sell me. I don't know, the picture should do it by itself. Nick Aquilina says, generic. And Eric says, bland. Kenneth says, looks so scrumptiously delicious, edibly tasty good to me. I'm not sure which car he's talking about.
He might be still talking about the food porn.
Eric says, not coming back. Ed Roberts says, good evening, everyone. And Nick Aquilina says, show us True Image. True Image is something like that. So Glenn, talk to us a little bit about True Image.
Yeah, so, and I'll, let me, if you want to put that picture back up there for 1 second, if you can go back to that,
sure.
The one from Washington Nissan. You know, I'll make mention of this, and I think one thing I've learned, I can tell some stories around this too, is what makes this photo stand out to me. I mean, yeah, the clarity, the picture, like everything it's done, it's shot very, very well. But the fact, the realism of it, you know, that there is, you know, I think on the last one there was a leaf somewhere on the ground or something like that. You know, there's some reality to it that makes it a real and makes it look real to the consumer. And sometimes, you know, the stock photos and the, you know, well, not the photos coming soon, but the stock photos, you know, obviously they're not vehicle specific. They don't show the exact options or colors necessarily of the vehicle, but it's that it doesn't stand out as the realism. It doesn't capture the emotion and attention where this photo does. This makes it really stand out to the consumer, so they know what they're looking at, and it builds a little bit of emotion on there. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of what that does. Now, from what True Images does is really an efficiency standpoint, an efficiency tool. So, on used cars, everyone needs to take a picture of a used car. It's unique, has, there's specific thing. As soon as it rolls off the lot, that's, it's no longer a commodity. It's exactly, it's a used vehicle and has mileage, wear and tear, it's been used. So on new vehicles though, a dealership might sell, 50 black Toyota Camry LEs with a certain package on it for that model year. And rather than having to go through the hassle and ordeal, because we know it's a challenge, obviously dealers only 63% successful getting those photos online. If those photos can be stored, housed, and archived, that's what our system does is automates that. So when the car comes in, it clones, copies, and posts automatically. And so within hours, it's online with those actual photos of the actual vehicle photos. Now we go down to the option code level, so we're making sure we're only cloning and copying the exact same vehicle. But if that dealership sells 50 of those this year, all other things concerned, why would you photograph it 50 times, either with your own people or with, with paying a company to do that? Because that's the definition of insanity, right? It's doing the same thing over and over again, and you're paying for it. So why not spend that time doing used cars and instead of shooting the same new cars over and over, and the labor and time. And I had a dealer tell me, because Glenn, he goes, yeah, it saves us money, it saves us all these things, it gets online faster, but it's like that extra aggravation of trying to find the photos, trying to find the vehicles, trying to find the keys, get the car pulled around, and then I'm trying to show the vehicle at the same time someone's photographing it. That hassle is just worth everything to me, to not have to worry about photographing every vehicle. And he said that to me is the win for you guys. So that's really it in a nutshell. So I mean, it's really designed to get your cars online faster, save you some time and efficiency, and not therefore money, and get a higher photo percentage of your vehicles online. Because again, if the photos are online, you're in a better position to sell the vehicle, especially before and more even so after COVID, is more people are shopping from home than ever now.
And the thing is that having been out in the field for the number of years that I've been out in the field, I've seen the frustration on the photographer's part. These guys go crazy. They're hardworking guys. It could be 110 degrees, and they're out there with a box full of keys. Half the time keys are missing at a dealership. Let's be real, that happens. Yeah. So now you got the guy there, he's frustrated, he's aggravated, and a lot of times there's not a lot of help coming from the store. These guys are like, well, you're the photographer, that's your problem. But they don't realize that, hey, if I don't snap that picture, your picture's not going to get online. It's really that simple. And then you take like snow days, you take rain, inclement weather, where the photographer might not be able to make it out to the store. If you have these photos, right? The used cars is one thing because they're all unique. But let's face it, there's only so many combinations of new cars that are going to come through, and they come through over and over and over. So what you spend to have a photographer come out to take the pictures of the car that went up, went down, and left, that is crazy. They're spending a lot of money for nothing, and it's taking them a long time to do it. Now, we got a few comments coming here. Eric O'Reilly says, sounds great for new car photos. Used car photos are different. Absolutely. They need to be individualized and represented properly for what they actually have. That is 100% correct. Your program is just new cars, correct?
Yeah, in theory, it works for used cars. We've got some dealers who sell purely off rental vehicles. That would make sense for that, 1 year old, and they buy 100 of them that are exactly the same. But that's a rare case. So in every other way, I would say absolutely. And again, what's going to help is getting, if the new cars, if your photographer is spending less time shooting new cars, they can make sure they're getting every used car shot. And it allows them to do, if they've got more time now, they can start adding videos to their product. They can write ad liners. They can start doing things that are going to be, that much better. I like the next comment. So those are better.
Let's see, Paul, the goatee, it was worth cloning. Wish I could grow one that nice.
Right? I think that'd look good. I think I could put one up.
Well, I'll tell
I
you
want to do like a
something.
snap. Can we do like a Snapchat filter where we get one of the Paul's beers and just throw it on me here in a little bit? I think it would look all right.
I had more of it, but I had to take. I had to. I'm going to announce a new project. My goal is before the end of the month, this new project is going to come to life. And for the videos that I had to shoot for that new project, I think it looked better off, less of that killer look going, so a little bit more business focused. So, but I'm not sure if I'm going to put this back on or not. We'll have to see. But apparently, it's a lot longer than I thought it was, and I didn't notice that until I actually took the sides off. It's like, holy crap, that's a lot. So let's see here. And Gene says, "Hey y'all, Gene. Hey, that's the guy we were talking about before." Kenneth Dunner.
That's right.
Frank DeGiorgio, stop lying. Ted says your beard is getting long, Paul, and Kenneth says, Ted Ings, you grow one to your ankles. So, but yeah, getting back to the show here. Yes, if the guy's not wasting time snapping pictures of the same cars that have come in and gone out before, then he or she can spend more time focusing on the used cars, and that's really where your opportunity for growth is. Not great like it was years ago, but certainly better than the run-of-the-mill new cars. Now it seems that the new cars are such a commodity that you need to keep the pictures online to attract people to your inventory. But let's face it, that's not what's going to make you all the money today.
Right.
Steve says this problem should be gone since last century. If not, the dealers need tons of help. Well, you would think it should. But yes, and that's why guys like Glenn are here.
Yep. Yeah, it's Paul, I'll go back. I remember, gosh, this goes back into the late 90s, a big dealership group in Philadelphia, Fred Beans Automotive, and they've got a big organization. And Mr. Beans is tough to get an audience with, right? So I finally got a time to come in and talk to him, and he said something like Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And I thought, you know what, he's not even going to be there. He's just, it's Sunday. He's just probably jerking me around to see if I'll actually show up. So I showed up, and he was there, and he was the only one there, but he was there, and so he invited me in. We had a great conversation, and the first thing he said to me is, he goes, the reason I didn't want to take a meeting with you, and I'm finally reluctant to do so, is your company shouldn't exist. And this was before True Images. This was a dealer specialties type. But he's like, only in automotive could we be lazy enough that we can't get stuff like photography handled ourselves internally to get that done. And he was right. But it's a matter of priorities. And in the car business, we often are, we're pushing deals and everything's, especially as you get towards month end, and everything's focused on, pushing metal. And, the next thing you know, you got your photographer running dealer trades, and he's not having time to do photos. And then they can't find the keys because the salesman's got them in his top drawer because he thinks he's got a sale coming today, and he doesn't want anybody else to take the car from him. So it's those kind of things that keep it from happening. But a solution like True Images really helps save them that time and effort, and then allows the photographer to make sure they get everything else done in the proper time. And again, in a competitive marketplace where you're looking at, ultimately what we're trying to do, we're taking search results pages and we want to convert them to VDPs. It's the online test drive, and we want to get them to the VDP. How do we get them off that search results page? You're not going to get them off with a photo coming soon or a stock photo. They're going to bypass that car and they're going to go to the next listing. Pricing is obviously important and call to actions are important. But if you don't have a good photo as your lead photo on there, it's not going anywhere. And too many dealers still today don't do that. Yeah,
it's insane. Fred's an awesome guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him. He was a keynote at one of our fixed ops roundtables. And actually, on my YouTube channel, I have about a 20-minute video with Fred Beans. It's in the Titans of Automotive collection.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting when you get a chance. Check that out.
I will. I'll do that.
Definitely interesting guy. Let's see. We got some comments coming here. Gene says, "Ken, what did you say about me before I got here?" Gene says, "They're still horse trading. What do you expect?" Yeah, that's very true. Not a lot has changed, right? The technology has changed, but only for those that embrace it and leverage it.
They
Kenneth
say,
Connor,
Paul, they say, sell yourself, sell the dealership, then you can sell the car or horse, whatever, or space rocket. It doesn't matter what it is. Sell yourself and then sell the dealer, then you'll sell the car.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Karen says, next time you're on Cape Cod, we need to go to a Tuscan cuisine. Karen's my friend that lives on the Cape. Anytime I was on the Cape, we would get together. And Michael Landis, only good things, Gene Girdley. Kenneth says, Gene Girdley, I never lie. So yeah, no. So the photo is ultra important. As you said, it saves time, it saves money. And it doesn't matter whether you use somebody in-house or outsource, it's still the same time savings, and you don't have to worry about whether or not your cars are going to get online.
Paul, now, I'll mention something on that real quick, just because it's a question that comes up to me often. Is dealers are like, should I do this in-house or should I do it with a third-party company? And again, spent 15 years of my life running the largest outsourced photography company in the country, and so I've got an affinity towards that. And I always said if I had my own dealership, I'd shoot my cars in-house. But we see about 50% of dealers do it in-house and 50% use a third-party company, and they go back and forth and change that over. For what it's worth, I don't think it shouldn't be a financial decision. You're splitting hairs financially. The question is, are you making sure you've got personnel and able to handle it? It gives you more control in-house to be able to say, I can take them when I want to take them at my own schedule. But if you're not great at managing the day-to-day stuff at your dealership, you're probably best off putting it out to a third party. And some people like to mow their own lawn. Some people like to hire somebody to mow their lawn. I like to mow my own lawn, So, it really comes down to that. But if you've got, if you can't do a secret shopper at your dealership and have it be successful, I put my thoughts there before you start trying to tackle photography. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. A lot of times I will look through, before I go into a store, I always do my research, and that is, one, can I find them online? That's number one. Do they even show up when I do a search for anything that relates to what that business does? And then I look at things like, how are they merchandising their inventory? What are they doing in social media? What do their cars look like? How many times do I find the shadow of the photographer in the picture that goes online? I find that just unbelievable. How that's even allowed to happen. But it happens more often than you would think. Now, Michael Larkin has a question for Glenn. How far do you think the car industry is behind with technology?
Well, if I compare to the real estate industry, I think we're doing very well. But in most other
10 years ahead, actually.
Right. We're compared to real estate. But I think it depends on the part of the industry. We were talking earlier about fixed ops, Paul, before everybody came on, and in certain areas of fixed ops, I think we're doing a great job catching up to other industries. The fact that you can do a lot of scheduling online and you can get videos of them working on your vehicle and that stuff, that's far better than most service industries are. So I think in some ways we're in great shape. The tools that we allow for shopping and comparison shopping are much better than other large, if you're comparing televisions and computers and different things online, you're relying on consumer ratings mostly to tell you the difference. And there's so many shopping tools for automotive that the industry's out there. But then, then you see something like Carvana, and I'm not a huge Carvana fan. But I think they've taught us a lot of things. The fact that they're a media and a darling and a Wall Street darling for really no reason at all, just being a used car dealer with a gimmick. Somehow they're a technology company, and that tells us that with a little bit of gimmick, they can get a long way.
But they came in number 8.
I know. Yeah.
There's something to be said for that.
Yep. Oh, no doubt. They've made an impact, and they're when I see people buying cars at Carvana, I just kind of shake my head, and I said, who hurt you? But,
what's interesting is that while we complain about Carvana exists today because of us.
Yep, no doubt. Yep,
right.
No doubt.
It's something that we definitely brought on ourselves. So Michael, I hope that answers your question. Stephen Chesson says, I spoke to Fred Beans on the phone once. He urged me to keep pushing all my video all-time philosophy. He helped convince me that my belief was correct. The one talk made him one of my mentors. Absolutely. This guy, I'm telling you, not that I'm trying to shamelessly plug my YouTube channel and or asking you guys to subscribe, just saying. But if you click on the Titans and Automotive playlist, got Fred Beans is one, Brian Benstock is another. Just if you listen to Fred Beans talk about how he got started, it'll put a warm spot in your heart for sure. My wife and I were sitting at the round table watching this guy talk, and we were in awe. It was really, really cool. So thank you, Stephen, for that. Joe Defilippo says it's hard enough to get cars through the shop and detail. Need a third party to shoot the cars. That is very true. I had a guy the other day from Recon Velocity talk about how long it takes to get cars through the shop. Most companies don't do very well with that. They think they do well, but they really don't. So you add that other layer of having to now coordinate the photos. And let's face it, if the photographer shows up for some of these services and that car is not ready, I'm here now. So I'm either going to take the car dirty and put it up there, or you're not going to have it. Your call, but just let me know. Am I shooting or am I going? And more often than not, they'll say, yeah, no, shoot the car, which doesn't present it.
Yeah, we see some dealerships, especially on used cars, that they'll shoot photos when they get the trade in or when it first comes in and it's dirty, and they'll put some kind of disclaimer on the bottom of it, getting cleaned up and reconditioned. I mean, it's better than a stock photo, I guess, but it definitely could turn somebody off too if it's not in good shape. But it does take them always longer than they think it takes them to get through, the reconditioning process.
Absolutely. And Gene Girdley says, let's see here, nice testimonials on your website, Glenn. So he's apparently
Thanks, appreciate it.
Checked you out on your website. So at the end of the show, please put in a link to your spaces online because there are going to be people that might want to find out more, and all your stuff on there, then we'll be able to see it. Kenneth says, I love Glenn. I mow my own grass too. Somehow I can picture Kenneth out there mowing his own grass. Christopher Martell, great topic, guys. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Chris. I don't know if this is your first time on the show, but thank you for joining us. Kenneth Dunner says, Paul, what's in that ginormous glass you're drinking from? Water, ice water. I would tip to show you, but then I'm going to get water on my keyboard, and that won't work very well. Yeah, ice water, Ken. I love, ice water tastes so good, I could have gallons of it at a time. Andrew Perez says, tuning in here from San Antonio. Welcome, Andrew. Says, what's your most successful marketing platform? What is your most successful marketing platform?
Help me understand what the question means. So,
what do you mean by that, Andrew?
So yeah, clarify for me if that means third-party sourcing, or they're looking for a portal. I'm not sure what the best way for that means, but yeah, we see dealers using, primarily most of our dealers use either vAuto or HomeNet for their syndication and their tools. Some others use, there's still some VinSolution customers out there who haven't transitioned to one of the other Cox companies or dealer.com, obviously Inventory Plus, and then third-party companies obviously use like Auto Uplink or Excite or Dealer Specialties. It's one of those kind of one of those things.
A good syndication platform is crucial, because there's so many times that you'll find difference in pricing. I've seen as much as $6,000 from the dealer's website to a third-party site, and it's so funny. Us that are road warriors, we pretty much face all of the same challenges, just different city. Person looks different, but the game pretty much remains the same. They're oftentimes reluctant to accept, one, that there's a problem, and then two, actually take a step to correct it. And I'll give you an example. There was a Buick store that shall remain nameless that I called on and I do my research. I find a $6,000 price difference between what's on their website and what's on third-party sites. So I go to the dealer and I ask him, I said, hey, listen, I saw this car online here. Here's the stock number. Can you tell me how long that car has been in inventory? And he tells me it's about to celebrate a birthday. I said, you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because in doing some research, I see that you have about a $6,000 price differential between what's on your website and what's on the third-party sites. Now, I don't know if you're a big fan of third-party sites. As a dealer, you're probably not, but the reality is your customers are. So I said, the fact that it's $6,000 more expensive in third-party sites than on your website, is that at all of any concern to you? And his comment was, no, because when they get to my website, they'll see the cheaper price and they'll jump all over it. I said, yeah, but we're about to roll out a birthday cake here. And
that's right.
Chances are good they're not going to get to your website, right? You got to have a good picture, and that syndication tool needs to really be on point so that your pricing is consistent across all fronts. Well, he didn't have that in place. He manually priced all his cars, and he missed a few. Oops. But guess what happened when he corrected the pricing? Car was gone. But at that time, he was not willing to spend the $800 a month for an inventory program that would do all that for him. Hey, no problem. I get it. So I'll be back in the area in about 6 months. I go back in 6 months. Lo and behold, I do quick research. Same problem, different car. I go in. Hey, how are you? Hey, this stock number, can you tell me about this? Yep, and that one too was about to celebrate a birthday, until he changed the pricing so that it reflected the same pricing in third party. And guess what happened? The car was gone. But once again, he was not willing to invest the $800 a month for a program that would do all that for him. So in my notes, I put down, I'm going to go back a year later to visit the new owner, because it's pretty clear to me that this guy's just he's not getting it, and he's not going to make it.
Right.
Really simple. So guess what happened, Glenn, when I went back a year later?
Same guy?
No, it was the new owner.
New owner? Oh, things are better, I hope. I hope.
Things are a lot better. Things are a lot better. But that's the point. You know, you got to have the images, and you need the syndication to make sure.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of comments coming in here. Let's see. Joshua McFall says, I've seen new cars 50 days old, not through PDI yet. Images help with that for sure. Yeah, no kidding, because guess what? If somebody wants it online, they'll figure out a way to get it through the shop if it's in fact fallen through the cracks.
He brings up a good point there, Paul. Let me expand on that for a second, because I think what you see is in what Josh brings up is you've got dealers who bring cars in, they keep inventory. Now, inventory levels obviously post-COVID are lower than what they were, but dealers would keep these vehicles, they get them dropped off in storage lots, and they'd never get photographed. This is one of the reasons that photo percentage is so low nationally, is because they'd sit in storage lots with the vehicle wraps on them down the street, another town over, someplace. And, you get into New York City and they're in 4 different storage lots, stacked 3 high, and they never get the wrappings off of them. So logistically, you can't get to it. That's in these cases, no matter how good a photographer is, they can't take photos of those cars in those places. So now those photos are getting taken or getting used because of those, because of the library that we've created. They can clone and copy, even though they still have the vehicle wraps on them in some storage lot. So that gets the photo percentage up all the time. So that's what Josh is talking about there, and I think that's a great point.
Let's see here. So Christopher Martell says, where do you guys see the photo capture technology going over the next 5 years?
Good question. I mean, we've seen, and probably this may be related to this. There's been there's a photo 2.0, I'll call it, which is like a CGI scripting of a new vehicle. So you've seen Ford and GM have come out with some of these computer generated models of vehicles. So it's option specific. So it does have, unique photos built on the actual VIN of the vehicle, which I think is great, much better than just your standard stock photos. But stats as we've seen them so far show that the consumers aren't as, they look pretty, but they look that too perfect look of, well, I can tell that's not really the car and it's just a computer graphic, design of that vehicle. And maybe the novice is still clicking on that. They do look pretty, Certainly better than not your regular. So I think that's going to eliminate the original stock photos. So I think those computer generated images will take the place of the stock photos. I've seen a lot of dealers use those as a base and then put real photos over the top of them. So, before they get to photograph the vehicle, or if it's a unique car, it has one of those CGI images and then replaced by a real image when it comes through. So that's one way. Certainly we've seen some efficiency processes as mobile devices have gotten better. I think more photographers are using their mobile device to capture vehicles. If they know what they're doing, they can get an actual very good shot with those. They make lenses that snap on the back of them. And you can get great photos off those. The advantage is if you're using an app, we have one, but Auto Home, that all of them have them, is when you upload directly from that, you never have to take the camera card out, put it in the computer, then upload everything. That time piece is gone. So the speed is efficiency, which I think is obviously important. The efficiency is going to be that much quicker to get the vehicle online when you do that. So I think that's a big piece of it too. I think interactive videos are certainly going to keep increasing in frequency, and the consumers will demand more of that, especially as they shop from home.
So it sounds like these computer generated images are almost like deep fake videos.
Yeah, right. I mean, to some level, they've only got them on a few, and they're limited in the number of images that are coming out of them. But I assume they'll continue to grow those somewhere in the future here. The question is going to be, do they convert? And so far, the jury's out on that. It's cheaper. It's a cheaper solution than photographing all your vehicles. But is it meeting the consumer demand? And that's the minimum, I think, at best at this point.
How long has that technology been out?
About a year, I'd say, for Ford and GM.
It's relatively new.
What's that? Yeah, definitely relatively new. And again, we'll see how it plays out, if it meets the consumer demand or not. So.
Everything, the data is usually in arrears. You've got to be out for a while before they see what the real numbers are or what the benefit has been.
Yep.
Now, Andrew's question before, when he had asked about what platform, he says social media is a question mark. So that's not a perfect area of expertise, and you may be a better answer that, Paul, than even I am. But I think I would tend to think Facebook is where your consumers are, where certain demographics are. I don't know what the platforms look like really for if you're looking to scoop for younger generation. I don't know what that marketing opportunity really looks like on an Instagram or a Snapchat. I don't know that there's a conversion the way there might be on a Facebook if you're hitting those targets directly. But I think if your engagement, I love Twitter, but I don't know that that. Maybe after the election, it's a cesspool right now. You and I live on Twitter.
I know, but for the majority of people, it turns into a cesspool. So I think we're better off. I think if you can engage a consumer either on Facebook and forums where they're asking questions and you can answer them. Gary Vaynerchuk's line that I quote often is, when he said, "Do you think I really like answering a million times what kind of wine goes with fish?" No, but he kept answering that over and over again, and eventually. He's helping out enough people that he sells a lot of wine because of it.
Now, Facebook is definitely a great venue right now. Pricing is great. You can reach a lot of people.
No doubt.
Everybody lives on Facebook, and now with the changes coming, to Google, I don't know if you're aware, but changes as it relates to being able to advertise pricing and things like that.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the changes coming?
I don't. Yeah.
They're going to be nixing that lease special for $2.99. They're going to be nixing the pricing online. That's going to go by the wayside. And that's Google's the #1 search engine. YouTube owned by Google, #2. So I'm not sure how good a venue that's going to be because it kind of levels the playing field. If you can't advertise pricing, where a lot of dealers, let's face it, they advertise pricing.
Right.
So I think that's going to steer even more people towards Facebook. So right now, Facebook is a great source for selling just about anything.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Paul Machine, how are you, man? It says, always say best face forward, get the most money. Absolutely. And Andrew says, do you geotag your photos?
We do put some metadata into the photos. It hasn't been, and we do that per VIN number. It hasn't turned out to be so successful because we don't find that the indexing is happening as great on the vehicle photos because they're embedded in the VDP. So Google, the search engine's not finding them because it's a dynamic URL that's created on the VDP. So that's about as that was like a stream of consciousness that I'm not even sure everything I just said makes all that sense, but I'm pretty sure that's about as technical as I get on that thing. But I think that answers the question.
And Joe Defilippo says probably lost 5,000 a car. I think Joe's talking about the example that I gave where the pricing was, stupid money different between third party and the dealers. Yeah, because when you think about holding cost of a car, right?
Yeah.
On used, half the time they own them for cash, but that's still it's income opportunity cost.
Yep.
On
right.
new
yep.
cars, your floor plan expense, if you keep the car for any length of time and you think you sold it and you made $1,500 on it, you didn't really. Maybe you broke even. You might have paid your guy on $1,500, but that's not what you made, because when you take out your holding costs, oftentimes there are new car departments that lose money.
Yep.
Maybe not right now, right? We're in a little bit of a bubble, right? When COVID hit, everybody was, the brakes were pulled in, everybody was kind of locked down, and they had money coming in, but they weren't going anywhere and they weren't spending it. So now you got all this pent up demand, the doors open slightly, and dealers are setting records. Yep. Inventory, new car inventory, gone. Used car inventory, gone. You want to get replacements, they're paying what, $1,500, $2,000 over book just to get the car?
Right.
Then you got to recon it, take pictures of it.
Yeah. Well, that's again a great point. It's surprising. When I saw inventories dropping after the COVID stuff, I said, this is going to be, people are going to be able to keep up with the photography better now because they have more time. It actually has turned out to be the opposite, because they're moving the cars so fast that the photographer can't keep up with what's coming in, because the speed to market, because the turn is going so fast, they got to get these cars online. So their photo percentage actually dropped, even though the inventory levels have been lower, which was a surprise finding, I think, for us to see. So it's been a blessing, but we've had more success and more interest because people are having a harder time keeping up, getting their photos done. So.
And part of what contributed to that is that, let's face it, a lot of dealers laid off, furloughed, whatever you want to call it, a good chunk of their people. And they didn't necessarily bring back everybody. There are some stores that kept everybody on, that grew, but there are a lot of stores that didn't. So now you've got less people doing more stuff, right? I mean, I think it was a good exercise, because what it showed the dealers is that you are able to do a lot more with a lot less, but it doesn't mean that you can maintain that kind of a pace for any length of time, because stuff falls through the cracks. You got GMs doing deliveries.
Yeah, right.
Focusing on the whole store that are not.
Yeah.
Just as we're vendors, you would think that we could get an audience easier now, because there's people that have time. They don't, because they're doing more than they were doing before, and they're benefiting from all this pent up demand and low inventory levels. So they're selling like gangbusters. But the question I ask is, what happens when we get caught up?
Yeah, right. And do we go back to bad habits, or do we stay efficient after that's happened? And hopefully the learning curve will, we saw that in the 2008 when things contracted and people learned to be better operators at that time, and hopefully that stays put, and the efficiency lessons, are things that stay after this.
That'll be very interesting to see. We got a few comments here. Joe Defilippo says Black Widow has a great product, fast and nice photos and 360 video. They do have an interesting product for sure. Ron
Paul, and I think we have a lot of customers who, or a few customers who use the Black Widow product. Works great with our software. We can bring those images in just like everything else. It's important to get the inside of the photos with that too. The angles are a little high for me on the Black Widow product, but it does add some efficiency if you can work out the structure on that.
As with any tool, it is oftentimes the person behind the tool, right? So the technology is good, but unless you have everything set up the right way, and you make sure that you've got the overlays and things like that for branding, right? A lot of these photo apps have all that in it. So you can now upload a batch of inventory and all of your photos have a nice overlay with the branding, like I showed you in a few examples, where it highlights the car and it highlights the dealership. But the best tool in the worst hand still doesn't take advantage of what you're paying for. Ron Usher says, I can get them through the shop fast, but I'm going to retire soon. They're going to miss me. Ron is a master tech who is flirting with retirement right now.
Well, you always say you got to replace yourself before you can retire, right? No, you shouldn't let you retire until you replace yourself.
So I'm not sure if he's actually going to do it. I know the sales guys never really leave the business. That's a definite. And one of the best videos is the universe invented the car salesman. That is probably one of my favorite videos of all videos. I don't know. Have you seen that one before or no?
I've never seen that. No. I'll have to look that up.
It's so on point. It's scary. That one. And are you connected with Joe Webb?
Yep.
Joe puts out some crazy funny videos.
Yeah, he's got some great ones.
Have you seen the de-evolution of the internet?
Yep. I've used that I've used that a few times in different environments to play. It's spot on. So he nailed it. Yeah.
Nails it. Yeah. Let's see. Joe Defilippo says yes. I think that's to my comment of the person behind the tool. Chris Martell says great answer, Glenn, and good analogy, Paul. Thank you, guys. You're welcome, Chris. You're welcome. Frank DiGiorgio says a nice Pinot Gris goes well with fish, by the way.
There you go.
And Steve Cheston says no such thing as ever caught up. Dealers have no idea what caught up is. Like painting a bridge. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think you might be right. There may not be such a thing as caught up. And then Ron Usher's got the running away emoji.
Right. Caught up is like, in addition of doing my own lawn, I guess I do a lot of my DIY projects. I do laundry. You're never caught up with laundry, right? I mean, no matter what you do, there's always laundry still to be done. You're never caught up with that. So kind of the same thing. I guess if you're caught up as a dealer and all your cars are photographed, then things are very slow. So, you got to keep moving. The wheel never stops.
I think I'm with you. There's no such thing. I don't think as ever being caught up. Now, it's increased VDP time on photos, on real photos versus stock photos or no photos. Do you have any kind of numbers on that or no? I'm putting you on the spot asking you.
Yeah, I do. I don't have anything offhand. I do have, and I can provide for follow-up for you guys on some of the, what the click-through rates, and Automotive published a bunch of those, but getting from search results to the VDP, real photos, nothing converts like that. So pricing is important, but even if you have the best price, if you have a stock photo or, an image or photo coming soon, you won't get the click through. And then the big thing when you get to the VDP is having enough photos. I see dealers who do, question pops up, how many photos are the right number of photos to take? I wish we had a good number in the industry to quantify that. I think the algorithms have built in, that you need to have 10 or 12 at least to really really hold the consumer's attention. And we've got dealers who do 80 or 90 pictures on a new car, which I think is pretty overkill.
Wow. Way overkill.
Yeah. But if you get down and, I think if you can get to 20 to 24, pretty much is a good, reasonable number to get to. Now, if you want to focus on, if it's a truck and you have some specific stuff, maybe you want to get to 30 with, looking at all the options, but it can vary on each of those. But, the things I see on the VDP is, whatever you can do to engage a customer. Now, sometimes you see what I call whack-a-mole on the, you're playing the whack-a-mole game, trying to click off all the things that keep popping up on a dealer site, and that can get super annoying. So that's once you get past that, if you can eliminate those things, having some calls to action, I think, having payment information, some generic, here's what a lease or here's what a payment would cost you based on those things, I think is a must-have on those. But video, as far as merchandising is concerned, if you have 20, 24 photos, maybe somewhere in that range, and then having video with some calls to action is what the VDP is going to keep consumers focused on your website for a while longer.
Video is key because, let's face it, people are lazy. Yeah. They don't want to read. They want to look at a video or they want to click on a photo. And if that's not engaging, they're not going to stay there. Yeah, but for sure. The having something that's gonna show. Now, video what we found is it's a very downstream funnel activity. So if you can track the consumers who are watching videos, usually they watch them from an OEM site in the initial phases. If they're watching a video on your website, they're close to purchase. So that's something to keep in mind. Is all the stats will tell you that is if they're watching the videos. Usually the casual shopper doesn't start watching videos. They click through the photos for what they're looking for and move on when they're getting close to purchase when they watch the video. Yeah, I had Benny Major on. Benny Major does a lot with YouTube. And the people that watch videos, you're right. They are people that are really, really close to pulling the trigger. Yep, no doubt. Yeah, if you can pinpoint when they're watching the videos, they're definitely down funnel activity. One thing, and sorry, I'm jumping on a little bit on this. I meant to mention this with the VDPs. One thing I see in the industry, and it almost goes back to the technology question I think Chris asked before, something that's been missing. We're trying to work on a solution for this, but it is you see two Toyota Camrys that are online on cars.com and they're listed, and one's $3,000 more than the other. And based on the SRP, they look the same. It's the same model, it's the same trim level, same color. The consumer doesn't know why that vehicle is any different. And really, when they click on both of them, even when they hit the compare button, it gives them this, verbal diarrhea of all the option codes, and they can't sort through all those different things. And typically, the option codes that matter aren't even listed there. So we're trying to create a screen that would say, here's why this car is $3,000 more and has these option codes or these options on the vehicle, not standard equipment, but it has these things that didn't come standard with this model, which makes this more, and embedding that into a photo. And I think if we do that, it gives it a very, a way as they're scrolling through, it says, look, this is why that car is more expensive. And it gives them those options. The options are hard to find a lot of times on those cars. Sometimes they're not even listed there and you don't know why that car's more expensive than another. But that's a piece in technology, I think, from a consumer standpoint, that's very hard for them to find, what makes this car different than the other one. So. Yeah, because, you see all of the generic stuff listed. Right. Who really cares, right? Right. That's like the 158-point inspection. Really? Yeah. Here's my rendition of the 158-point inspection. Step 1, take wrench. Step 2, put wrench on nut. Step 3, turn wrench. Step 4, turn wrench again. Step 5, remove nut from car. Step 6, remove wheel. You've done 6 things before you've really done. You've done nothing. You've done 6 things, but you've done nothing. I think they count this too. Grab pencil, click, check mark next to it. Those are 2 more steps in the process, I think, too. Yeah, no. So now, are you saying that is out there now, or that's coming? No, it's something we're working on now. I mean, I think in photos they pick up some of those. So a savvy consumer might say, "Hey, I want to see if this car has
XYZ option, and they're
Yeah.
looking through the option codes. Oh, or looking through the photos to find it because it's not written anywhere on the VDP because that information isn't readily available. But a
Yep.
smart consumer who has done their research is looking for a specific option on the photos to find
Yep.
those options. So that's where you wind up with, a dealer who's missing that in their write-ups. If the dealer's doing a good job, and the top dealers are doing this, in their the comment sections on the vehicle, they're writing up what differentiates that vehicle. But again, the majority of dealers don't get to do it. They don't get around to doing that. So
I like one program, the cheese factor. Right?
Yeah, right. The Viato cheese factor. How much cheese do you
Super
want?
cheesy, minimal cheese.
That's right. That was a home run. That was great.
That was brilliant. Whoever came up with that was brilliant.
That was good, for sure.
We got Aaron Meyer says content of photos is more important than the number of photos. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think both can play a factor in there, but you can get 20 really good photos that cover what 40 photos don't sometimes. Sometimes I see the same photo taken, which is they take all four wheels on a new car. The tire should be in pretty good shape. I don't know that we need to see all four of those. One might suffice, I think.
Right. Yeah, because they're gonna, for the most part, they're gonna wear somewhat evenly.
Yeah, and on a new car, especially, right? Used car maybe, but on a new car, I think we can be pretty self-assured that we're going to have pretty standard wheels on all four of the cars, on all four of the wheels.
Yeah, I don't think you need to take pictures of the road rash that's not there, curb rash.
That's right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Too funny, but yeah. So I guess yes, I totally agree. The content is more important, but you still need X amount of number of photos to even come to the table.
Yep, agreed.
Because otherwise it looks like you're chinsing out.
And that's one of the things we found with our tool too, is dealers will be willing to, they'll even spend a little bit more money with a third-party photo company or spend a little more time taking the set of photos because they're going to be reused all year. They want to make sure that they take really good quality photos that first time through.
So. I mean, how many different variations are there really?
More than you think. As we get into, a super large Honda dealership, or Acura, or even some of the Nissan, Kia, Hyundai, they can knock out a high percentage of their photos throughout the model year. There'll still be cars to shoot. When you get to domestics, all you're doing is you're lowering what you have to do, but they're just the amount of variations and options really never ends with them. I think it's almost infinite the amount of ways you can configure a Ford.
So then, how do you set that up in the program? I mean,
so
the
software
is not going to tell you everything.
No, we pull manufacturer's data, so we know exactly what's on the vehicle, so down to the option code level. So we're going to know that one car, two Nissan Sentras are exactly the same, except one has mud guards on it and one doesn't. So the one with mud guards needs to get taken separately because it looks a little bit different than the one that didn't have mud guards.
Sure.
A bumper applique, or the dealer can choose something. Like some dealers will eliminate things like a wheel lock because it's a $40 option and you can't really pick it up that much unless you're zooming in on the wheel anyway. So sometimes they'll eliminate things like that. But
you got body side moldings on some cars, not on others.
Yeah, one of Toyota's got the door edge guards as an option. It's a little fine thing right on the edge of the door to keep it. Yeah, so those are things that you don't really pick up on the photographs that you can eliminate. So, but
I mean, that's a huge time saver.
Yeah.
Now, hey, Kevin Elmendorf is on. I think you know that name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Kevin says Ford F-150s have hundreds of thousands of different combinations.
I don't doubt it. I mean, we've had we can look, Honda and Acura were somewhere, those are reasonable ones that you could take every one of them in a model year. But even with Nissan, with all the variations on a Titan, you get up into, there might be, 2,000 different variations of Nissan throughout a model year.
Wow.
But again, the top 1,000 are going to cover 95% of your inventory. So you're chasing, same thing with Honda. It might be 400 with Honda, but the top 300 will cover 95, 97% of your inventory. So
is there a length of time that it might take before dealers almost caught up to everything that they have?
Yeah, I mean, typically we do get some dealers who do max out with everything and they're done. With the staggered model year release, Paul, you and I might be old enough. We remember that everything used to come out in the fall and everything was done. Now the model year never really ends. New stuff's coming out, and the 2021 model year I think will go from March to March. It starts
Yeah.
We started seeing Corollas coming out in March and April of 2021s, and we might have some 2021s not come out until 2021 March. So
right.
it just
so
it never really ends with that. So, yeah, right.
A year ahead, right?
Yep.
That's crazy.
So,
well, Glenn, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. You've shared some really great stuff with us here. The hour has come. It seems like the hour comes faster
I think
than.
we said we were doing 3 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah.
And I was just pulling your leg on that one.
I was going to grow that whole goatee by the time we were done there. If we
remember Snapchat.
That's
Paul chat.
Very good.
So, do we have any more questions before we wind it down this evening? I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Had some great question. Kevin says, great job, guys. Thank you very much. I owe you a phone call. I've been meaning to call you for several months now. And every time I go to pick up the phone, something happens. And then it's like, oh, shit, I forgot to call Kevin.
Good guy. So,
no other questions. Again, thank you very much. Glenn, thank you. If you saw value in tonight's broadcast and you're in the automobile business and you think there's a dealer that might benefit from this, please share the video in your automotive community. Hey, George Nenny's on. Great show. Well done, Paul and Glenn. Thank you, George. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
So make sure to share this video with your automotive community. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Frank DiGiorgio says, nice job, guys. Thank you. And where's this? Let's see here. And here we go. Until next week. Thanks again.
Thanks, Paul.